Welcome everyone to another episode of Liquid Blake's Movie Takes. I'm with Raging Ryno this week, and we're talking about a movie that we're both pretty fond of. It's a classic sports comedy. It's one of the keystones in the Keanu Reeves renaissance of the early 2000s, and it's got one of the best leading actors of all time in the coaching role with Gene Hackman. It is The Replacements, sports comedy, football, American football movie. We're going to have a chat about it tonight and see how we go. First, I want to thank Ryno for being here.
Of course.
If you haven't seen Ryno before, he's got his own channel. I put the link in the description. He's got a wealth of videos on a lot of topics, not just Star Wars. He's a man of many interests, and he likes to have a good time on
Predominantly
his
Star
channel.
Wars, though. There's a lot of Star Wars on there, but there is other stuff as well.
Yeah, but yeah, he likes to have a good time on his channel, and he's part of the Full Aussie. You can catch that usually around this time on Saturdays in Australia, but it's the off week this week. So we're gonna fill in for now and see if we can keep you as entertained as those guys do.
Yep.
First off, thanks to guys for being here. I saw Skirmitar was here earlier, trying to trigger Ryno.
Yeah.
With all the target words. Sorry we're a little bit late.
Late
I know Daniel's early and gay.
Yeah.
That's
just a given.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. Like, when I heard that you wanted to talk about this movie, like, this movie's, like, I say it's one of my all-time favorite movies, but like it is, but it's not like one of those really deep movies. It's just a great comedy. It's constant funny moments just happening, small funny moments. Really, really good. So yeah, thanks for the invite.
No worries. It's always fun to talk about the movies you like, and this one is definitely one that's up on my list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as far as Keanu Reeves movies goes, it's one of my favorites, and as far as sports comedy goes, it's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, it'd be up there for me too, for Keanu Reeves. I know he does, like, obviously a lot of the action movies and stuff like that, and it's very rare to actually see him in a comedy like this. And actually, when you kind of think about it, a lot of the funny moments in this movie don't really involve him.
No.
You know, a lot of the more serious moments in this movie actually revolve around him, and a lot of the deep and meaningful moments are actually with Keanu Reeves, whereas a lot of the funny moments revolve around, like, Jon Favreau and the cheerleaders, and there's a lot in this movie when you really think about it. It's quite good.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely.
Hello, Mara.
And how are you, Mara? Thanks for being here. And as you say that, like, he's not exactly like the straight man in the movie, but he's sort of the non-comedic player with all these sort of completely insane and crazy characters around him, and sort of how they interact with him and how he interacts with them is really where a lot of the comedy in the movie comes from.
Yeah.
And it is and like when you say he does more of the dramatic roles in this, it is very much sort of a dramatic part for him, in that it's kind of like a redemption story. He's sort of his second chance coming back, and that's really what plays in most with the movie. But with his character, I think is more than the sports comedy aspect is the second chance redemption story aspect that he gets, which, I mean, a lot of great sports comedies have, but this one sort of nails it properly.
Yeah. But also too, like, the premise of this movie, to think, you're 4 games out from the playoffs sort of happening in American football, and they're getting replacement players because of a strike. Like, the whole premise of that is a little ridiculous when you think about it.
Well,
But again,
I mean, when they say this is based on a true story, it's very loosely inspired by the true story that happened. But yes, it was nothing like this kind of thing.
yeah,
But yes, the idea of getting replacement players in to win 3 out of the 4 games to make the playoffs, and it's got a very sort of Major League vibe to it. Have you seen that movie, the baseball movie, Major League?
Yeah.
It does very much follow that that line of getting the, I guess, the ragtag group in to sort of get
Try
that
and win
ball
these
rolling.
games. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
like
love
how
that. Go on.
no, I like how they start off with the loss too. So then it becomes they've got to win the 3 in the row to make it.
Yeah. And obviously they're all trying to find their feet with each other. They're all trying to get that connection with each other. And even through the dialogue, there's that scene where the coach gets up and he's like puts fears on the board and stuff like this. And he opens that pretty much that bit of dialogue by saying, I'm asking you to come together as a team in such a small period of time. And these are, I can't remember the exact sort of wording that he uses, but it's kind of like, I'm asking for a request that's nearly impossible, but these are, impossible times that we've got to sort of deal with to try and get these 3 games won to make the playoffs. And like, even in that, like when we talk about Keanu Reeves and the seriousness in this role in a comedy like this, that scene, if we can, like, we might end up, I think we might end up jumping around with this because it's not a movie that we were sort of talking before. We're not really going to break this down beat by beat, but in that scene, they're talking about their fears. And of course, the comedic side of it is they're talking about spiders. And like, we're afraid of spiders. And everybody's like, yeah, when they're crawling up your arm, and it's like, you can just rock me to sleep tonight, Jimbo or Jumbo, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But like, then like he goes, no, we're talking about fears on the field. And he's like, what, like spiders on the field? And it's like, there is that, like, you're sitting there and you're sort of laughing, half laughing or chuckling to yourself about the dialogue that's happening. But then Shane Falco comes out and goes, quicksand. But then also Clifford Franklin turns to him and goes, oh yeah, quicksand. It's a motherfucker. Like, you just try and struggle and you're trying to get out and it just sucks you in deeper. And the coach then goes, oh, I don't think that's what he had in mind. And then what Keanu Reeves says about, you're playing and one thing goes wrong and another thing goes wrong. And you keep trying to fix those things, but just more goes wrong. And it's just like quicksand, you're in over your head.
Yeah.
Like that seriousness really comes out of it. And there's some great messaging in there. Life lessons, like those sorts of elements that you can take out of the movie really. And you can pretty much, talk about that in your own life with reality
absolutely.
and what happens. And, just great. There's so many good moments in it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the key things, like, because I was saying before we started, I watched the director's commentary for this. I've watched it before and I watched most of it leading up to this one. The thing that brought the director, Howard Deutsch, to the movie is it's about second chances, essentially. And like, it's not just like a sports movie or a sports analogy. It's a second chance in life kind of thing. Because when he's giving that that speech on quicksand, he's not just really talking about the game. He's talking about his life that happened after that game. Like, it was just sort of like a series of events where he was just, everything was momentum against him, and he just found himself where he is at the start of the movie, sort of on the houseboat, reliving his glory days underwater where no one can see him, throwing that football around.
His trophy that he dumped.
Completely sort of isolated from the world. Like, that's the only place he really feels comfortable still.
Well, jumping to the beginning of the movie, like, there is a great setup with all of that. Like, obviously it does open up with that scene on the houseboat, and we will go into a little bit of that because that's a great moment and a great setup for the movie. But like, even the way that they set up the individual characters and introduce the characters in. It's like they got to put their roster together, and they're going through, you know, Danny Bateman and Clifford Franklin and you know, and it gives you that, like, you know, Clifford Franklin's working in a store, a guy tries to steal stuff, and then they get to the point where can he catch, and he throws the Twinkie in the air and he can't catch it. Like, there's really good setups in regards to just getting the characters in there as quickly as possible, but really giving you a good idea of what these characters are really like. You know, Danny Bateman, when he's pushing the guy's head and he's like, really, really good. And then you've got the, you know, the Jackson brothers, I think they are the two big boys. And, you know, the leg, Neil, what's his name?
I'm terrible with the characters' names in this.
It's Neil something. But see, like, even after they've set that up, you're still getting more characters introduced in those early stages of the movies, like the deaf guy. Is it Ryan or Brian? I can't remember. I can't actually remember. Yeah. Brian. The deaf guy, when they introduce him, and then the sumo guy, when they introduce him. Like, that's all at training that they're being introduced. So the way they introduce the characters through this, I must admit, it is one of the best written, like, setups for a story.
Yeah.
You know, the way, like I said, the way they introduce the characters and that sort of thing, fantastic.
Yeah, as you were saying, each little of those little clip videos that they show, it's like, I don't know, probably none of them really go for more than 30 seconds, but in that 30 seconds, you get a complete picture of what that character is, where they are, and why they're, you know, probably coming back to have this shot at another shot.
Yep. Nigel Gruff, that's his, I think it's Gruff.
Yes, that's it, Nigel Gruff.
I'm sharing my screen. I'll just show a little bit of this bit, because this is where they're obviously going through and introducing the characters.
Daniel Bateman, SWAT team officer.
Like, I love Daniel Bateman. Favreau's great.
Yeah. Favreau did so much stuff like this, where he was that crazy character back in the day.
Yep.
And it always fit him perfectly. Or he's that sort of that quiet, sort of really aggressive guy.
Yep. And then obviously Clifford Franklin.
Great attitude, great desire, and the fastest son of a bitch I've ever seen.
And I will say, you cannot underplay Hackman's performance in this as well.
Yeah, completely.
Like, even when he gets offered the job to come back and coach, and he's standing in the stadium and he's like, I'm thinking like this, he's, you know, and he flicks the coin, and, you know, I want complete control over my play. Like, his performance is so good.
Still making the demands as he's coming back, even though it's kind of like his second shot as well. Yeah.
Like, really good. And then Nigel Gruff, they introduce here. Oh, no, that's there. And the Jackson brothers. And the descriptions for, you know, like, these guys have either played football in one way or another, whether it be in the pros or not in the pros. And the Jackson brothers, obviously, when one of them was traded, they both fell apart, but they were really good when they were playing together. And you get that element as well. Like, the payoffs are so there from these setups, you know, even with him, the leg, like his wiry. The way that he tries to get him to say it, like, oh man, I love this movie so much. But let's go back to the boat scene, like the opening sort of scene where Shane is, you know, he's doing his job, he's scraping shit off the bottom of the boat, and he comes up, and the coach is basically there on his boat.
Mm-hmm.
The one line I love from that scene is, you know what separates the winners from the losers? And Falco just turns to him and goes, the score, as he closes the door on him. And it's like, it's so obvious. Like,
and you can tell McGinty, the coach's character, appreciated that response as well. Like, because he's probably given that line, you know, 100 times, 1,000 times. And, you know, people have probably tried to give him like the football answer or something, you know, like,
these really smart and intelligent answers, you know, really
and
deep and
then
meaningful
Falco
answers.
just comes back with there is only real one difference between the winners and the losers in the grand scheme of the game, but what he was giving him was more of the life lesson kind of thing, and it is a great scene. And that's another one of those ones where the director in the commentary talks about how Keanu and Gene spent a lot of time rehearsing and blocking that scene where they'd be on the boat, like how they'd be sort of delivering those lines to each other from where and everything. And it shows because it is one of those performances and scenes where you just it just sort of effortlessly flows between both characters. Like there's no, like, because one of the terms like you hear when people sort of like critique acting and stuff is like you can see the typewriter or the words like sort of coming into their mind as they're saying it, kind of thing, as they're getting the lines ready to be delivered. But that one was where it was just organic delivery and two sort of pros just going backwards and forwards.
Well, the chemistry between the two actors is fantastic. Yeah,
yes.
Biggles? Yeah, the chemistry between them is absolutely fantastic. The other line that I like from that is when they're talking about, I think they're talking about the sugar ball or something like that, and he's like, I had 3 concussions or whatever to prove it. And then they go on to talk about it a little bit more, and even Keanu Reeves goes, "That's why girls don't play the game."
Well, Gene Hackman says that first, yeah, I think.
No, that's right. You're right. Gene Hackman says it, but then late, like at the end of the movie, when he's trying to give his motivation, like when he comes back for that last game, which we'll get to, obviously, it's brought up again. Like this is what I'm talking about, though, in regards to the payoffs. Like there are so many
and
setups.
Setting something earlier.
There's so many setups at the beginning of the movie with like introducing the characters, the conversations that take place, that then are paid off so well at the end of the movie, or even midway through the movie to the end of the movie. It's really, really good the way that this movie is created and formed.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to clarify with that is I never got, I mean, especially in this day and age, that line would be heavily critiqued, but I never got the impression when Gene Hackman says that's why girls don't play the game. I never got the impression that he was referring to like that's why females don't play the game, like the gender doesn't play the game. He was more talking about that's why that's why it's for grown men kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's
like
a
you
tough
could replace
game.
Girls with boys.
It's a brutal game. It's not to say that girls can't play the game. It's just, obviously you don't want girls playing with these guys. They're going to get knocked out. They're going to get like hit so hard, breaking bones and shit like that. But again, I reckon there's actually a few things in this movie that almost makes you think that in the woke culture and things that we're in at the moment, you couldn't remake this movie. Could you imagine the strippers doing their little dance?
Yeah.
The
NFL wouldn't be happy about a lot of the things in the movie, I think. Even Shane Falco saying that he got 3 concussions in that Sugar Bowl game. The NFL would probably say, yeah, we don't really like that line in the movie. Could you just sort of maybe take out that, or maybe get like, he only got 1 concussion in that game. But yeah, today's lens looking at movies like this, even what is it? It's like 22 years ago now or something.
Yeah.
It's the story was first. Like they weren't really thinking about, is this line going to offend X, Y, and Z? It's more just about, this is the story we're telling and we're going to tell it how we want to.
Yep. Oh, there's that. Oh, I'm just flicking through here. There's that scene with they call him Smith, but that's obviously not his name because he's the guy out of prison.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone picks up on that either. That they call Earl Wilkinson, but on the field he's being billed as Ray Smith because they don't want to let on the fact that there's the ex-con out of jail playing.
Yeah,
or not an ex-con, he's a current con.
Con, that's right. But I love it how he's like, nice watch, and he's like, it's a fake, it's even broken. It's only right twice a day. And then he's like, come on, let's go. So let's get out of an area where no one can hear you scream, or at a screaming distance. Like those moments just make you crack up because it's so real.
Yeah, and they're not sense. Written and played for huge laughs. They're just sort of kind of just real in the moment of what would be sort of happening, and playing kind of playing off the fears or the stereotypes a bit of what that sort of guy would be feeling next to a current convict
Current con. It's
he's
just
just
been let
alone
out of
with
jail
in
to
an
play
empty
football.
space. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
did want to say as well that those two assistants, I believe their names are, the actors' names are Art LaFleur and Galed Salant, or I can't pronounce the other guy's name. It's kind of difficult, but those two, I think, are very unsung in this movie. The defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. But like that scene there with the actor's name's Art LaFleur and the convict character, those are really, really great moments. And he's a really good character actor. He pops up in a lot of sort of stuff from that era, and he always delivers some pretty good stuff. But the other guy as well, he has those lines like it's Wairi, and all the interactions he has like with the deaf player and with the sumo guy. It's a lot of little moments like that where a lot of the comedy comes from as well.
Yep. Good hit. Now get this thing off me, sumo boy. Like this. And then Nigel walks past him and he's like, that'll do, pig, that'll do. And he goes, what does he say? Something about him being a cockroach. And he goes, no, if you find your dick first. Like there's so many little barbs in there that brilliance.
Yeah.
There's the other guy that gets introduced too, the priest or the pastor. And he made it to the pros and he blew out his knee in his first game and he hasn't played another game since, and all he wants to do is score a touchdown. And again, another great setup with another great payoff, because he gets his touchdown, but in that touchdown, he blows out his knee again.
Yeah.
But he gets the touchdown that he wanted.
And that's the other thing about like the setups and the payoffs. Each character, for the most part, has one.
Yeah.
It's not just Keanu's redemption story and I guess you'd say Gene Hackman's redemption story. There's so many different elements that these characters that they introduced, that why they didn't probably originally make the NFL, and why they've been sort of Gene Hackman's sort of given the green light and shown faith and to bring them in now, sort of thing.
Yep.
And that's one of them is the I think his character's name's Cochran. And he
which one's he?
The guy, the priest guy.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. He I think his sort of arc is one of the better ones in it as well.
I agree.
And then if you notice that Brian, the deaf guy, who was, I guess, sort of billed as the most likely to have made it if like he wasn't deaf, sort of thing. Like Hackman goes like, this guy would have gone first round
draft pick. That's right.
Deaf, and like he probably would have had a career and stuff. He's the guy that it ends up winning it all for him. Like he gets the last touchdown kind of thing, and it's sort of his big redemption story. And he gets to see all the crowd cheering for him and everything. And it is one of those little ones where they do a great job of those smaller characters in the movie, giving them enough to sort of make the movie fuller.
Yeah, absolutely. And another, like, talking about setups and payoffs, like, even when in this opening training session that they're doing, Danny Bateman hits Falco twice. And, he's wearing the red shirt.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you see red, like a traffic light, and he's like, red means stop, right? He hits him on the helmet and, really good stuff. But then again, another payoff when they're in the bar fight and he's like, hey, Danny, remember what I told you about red shirts in practice? Forget all that. He's like, okay. And he just knocks out, what's his name? The
Martel.
other quarterback. That's right. Martel?
Yeah, Martel.
Martel,
yeah, M-A-R-T.
Yeah. And
I always wanted to call him Bartel because of Jimmy Bartel.
Yeah. This bit, yeah, like, hang on, let me play this because this is so good. Jon Favreau's performance in this is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
I must admit, I hate the guy now, but for obvious reasons, other reasons. But share this. This is
Shane Falco. Nice pop, Danny. Thanks, Coach. In practice, we don't hit the fellows with the red shirts on. I know, Coach, but I see that red. I just want to go after it like a bull,
you know. Shane's just on the ground. He's on top of him still.
Terrified.
Oh, man. So good. So good. But yeah.
I mean, with the red shirt and the bar scene, they're two of the most memorable moments or scenes of the movie, and they've got nothing to do with football. You've got the bar brawl, and then immediately following the bar brawl, you've got the "I Will Survive" singing in the jail
prison cell. Yeah,
and it's like it's kind of that really tips it into the I mean, it's almost it has a lot of Western aspects to the movie. I mean, it's all kind of like the hero's journey kind of thing, but storytelling. But it has a lot of Western motifs in it, like the this bar fight in particular. A lot of the stuff in it they use is a lot of the old Western stuff, like the breaking of the bottles and stuff over people's heads, and then sliding across the bar and everything. Like there's a lot of those sort of tropes. And then even I thought it was only really recently when I was watching it, I thought that also when Keanu comes back at the end for the second half or the last quarter of the game or whatever, he's almost like the hero gunslinger coming back into town for that last duel sort of thing.
Yeah,
and it gives it a sort of like a bit of an extra layer to it. Some of those things that I think are pretty cool. But going back to that bar fight, that Jon Favreau, I think that's one of his standout scenes is the bar fight. In particular, that the red shirt moment.
Yeah.
That every time I loved when he just yells out and he's standing in the door and then he's like, "Yep, remember that about the red shirts? Forget it." And he just floors him.
Okay. And then he just charges at him and decks him. Yeah. But see, they do a really good job of setting up Martel and the guys that are on the strike as not bad guys, but just like dickheads.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they tip over Shane's car at that first practice. They've set up the rope to trip him up as they're running in for that first game to sort of try and humiliate them a little bit. So like they do a good job of sort of setting that up, and that again, I've been just talking about setups and payoffs really, but there's a really like the great payoff when Martel and one of the other guys crosses the picket line to play again, and obviously plays that first half and just moseys through with these other replacement players. And you know, he's throwing the ball to Brian and he's like, "You got to go left, not right." And like the way that he's talking to it, like he's just a piece of shit of a guy, right? And they're like, you know, it kind of also, it sort of puts in perspective, you know, these are just big babies with their toys because they got a lot of money and they're getting paid shit tons of money to play football and stuff like this, and they take it for granted. And again, it's sort of with the replacement players, you know, even when the owner's trying to get what's his name to coach again, he's like, "Oh, not just a bunch of bitchy millionaires. I want some people that actually want to play to win," sort of thing, you know. But they do, like I said, they do a good job of at least like you kind of like. I hate Martel in this movie. I think he's a fucking cocksucker, right? But he gets what he deserves, you know. Even the second practice where they tip his car again, and you know the two Jackson brothers come out and he's like, son of a bitch, and then he shoots his windshield out, and you know that's just before you get to that scene which we were talking about, the fears earlier, you know, where they're sitting down talking about it. And I love that too, because it's like, anyone got any guns, you know, hand them in, no questions asked now. And like he's just sitting there, he gets bumped by his brothers, like, no, I'm not handing him a fucking piece in, like, no way. But yeah, like that first game, obviously you've got Jumbo eating the eggs and the throw up scene.
Oh yeah, and with that, also it's one of the things I never noticed at first, but with that where they put the wire across the entrance where they run out, and Favreau's the first one, and he takes out like half the cheerleaders.
Half the cheerleaders.
If you ever notice, like when he gets up and he keeps running towards the camera, he does like the Heisman pose when he gets there.
Watch.
It's one of the fucking funniest things ever.
I got it here. Because again, his character isn't really like, you wouldn't expect that from his character, the way again, his character's been set up. This is a great hit.
Yeah.
You see that? Wow, that's a pretty good hit.
Hang on, let me...
He's just taking them all out. Yeah.
That. It's so good.
He's just like, yeah, I meant to do all that.
Yeah. So good. But
yeah,
again,
he has a lot of moments in this, Favreau, because he was a pretty strong comedic actor for a long time, like before he started doing directing and everything. And
yeah.
Those were the sort of things he was really great at, like just those little small comedic moments that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. Like, even when they get in that first huddle and he's like, that's my spot, bro. He's like, nah, I don't care. Like, that's not your spot. And he's like, Gundersgone! And then they start fighting in the huddle and stuff like this. And Shane's got to try and come in and sort these guys out. And they get penalties, and they get penalties after penalties in these opening stages. And again, it's that whole thing of these guys trying to find their groove together, trying to find the chemistry in the team and all of that sort of thing. And then when you do get to that throw-up scene, like obviously they give up a couple of touchdowns or something like this, and they're getting beaten pretty heavily in this first game. And, then you get the throw-up scene, and they're doing their little move across the field to get away from the chuck, because Clifford Franklin, he can't be around people chucking or else he's going to puke. Like,
yeah.
There's so many moments where you're just constantly sort of chuckling to yourself. They're not laugh out loud moments, but they're really just very comedic, very good.
Yeah, and they all sort of build to each other as well. They're not sort of too out of place. Like, you see him eating the eggs before the game, and then and he even asks the question, like, because Falco goes, he says something. He's like, if you've got a question, put your hand up. And he's like, what if you
don't feel so good?
Yeah, he's like, tell me at the next huddle. He's like, okay. and then he set it up the next huddle, bang. That's when it happens.
And even the coach, he's like, look at it this way. It's the first thing we've done as a team, like this. And they obviously start finding their groove a little bit in this game.
And I love that they do a lot of the comedy stuff, like on the field, isn't directly, a lot of it isn't in the plays, that they're not sort of doing the comedy sort of football, like, like weird trick shots and all that sort of stuff. For the most part, a lot of the football is just them sort of playing normal football. Sort of some of it's like them fumbling through the normal football and everything, but they keep sort of like a lot of those comedy moments to the sideline, and then like the huddles and those sort of things.
Even in that huddle, like that one where they're trying to, just before the throw up bit, where they're, bumping each other about who spots who in the huddle and that sort of thing. And Shane gets knocked out, and Clifford Franklin walks over and, hang on, I've just got it here. I'm not going to share it. I'll just tell you what he says. He's like, damn, am I hurt already?
Yeah.
And Franklin's like, your partner knocked your head off, like this, like just bits like that are just, little good.
Because you can tell, like, they're still sort of, like, it's still very much a novelty to them. Like, they're like, are we really sort of here on the field doing all this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's very much the most, I mean, besides probably the Nigel Gruff, like Clifford is very much the odd man out in the group. Yep. He's I love the scene later on where he fucks up the play, and Gene Hackman goes, get over here. And then he puts the
sticky on
his
hands.
hands. And he goes, isn't this illegal, coach? She's like, what, are you going to go to football jail? And then he puts all this shit. He's like, I'll let you go.
I look like I just jacked off an elephant.
It's so fucking great. And then he goes out and gets the catch, and he's he can't get the ball out of his hand. He's got to get the ref to come over and take it out of his hand.
Yeah,
it's a lot of like I mean that's probably the most like comedy football element to it is that play. But yeah, it's there's sort of there's so many great moments like that where it's just little payoffs that fucking make the football.
But it's the crazy thing about this movie is it's constant. There are constant little funny moments that just keep you so entertained that, like, I was rewatching it this week so that I had it sort of fresh in my mind. And I actually sent you the video, guys. You will not believe this. Obviously, I watched it during the week. I get home from work, I turned the TV on, and I took a video of it and sent it to Blake because it was on TV.
Yeah.
This is uncanny. But it's one of those movies where, like I said, it's just constant entertainment. The writing, the comedic value in it, and then you do have those deep and meaningful moments throughout it. It's really well edited. It's really well put together. And we will get to probably one of the best edited scenes in the movie, which is the bar scene where he makes out with Annabelle for the first time. And we'll get to that. I know that's one of your favorite moments too. But
yeah,
like in the first game, you know, in that one of those first huddles as well, they're talking about he's calling out the play, and he's like, "That's right, right?" And he's like, "No, it's left." And he's like, "No, it's right." And he's like, "It's left." And then you see the other team, and they're obviously overhearing this play that they're trying to call out. Like again, them trying to find that chemistry in the team, really, really good. Really well put together, really well written.
And that's another reason why that bar scene directly after that is so important. Is that is like the chemistry building scene, and then directly after that you've got the
they're taking the
jail
loss
scene
together and the jail scene, which then gives you more chemistry in the team.
Yeah.
But I think there's a bit that we missed, and that was the cheer. I want to go back to the cheerleaders for a second. In that first training, in that first training session, Annabelle's obviously trying to get a few more cheerleaders on the team. And that is hilarious as well, where she's like, "Can you dance?" And then the music kicks in and you just see these girls doing these funny dances, or they're doing these ridiculous cheers and stuff like that. It's really good, really well done, and really entertaining through all of that.
One of the things the director says about that in the commentary, he goes, that was just people sending in dance audition videos, and he picked ones he liked, and he goes, "Just come out and do the dance for like the cameras and stuff." So that's just random people, because I always wondered, like, where would they get the actors from to do these dances and stuff? And it was just random. The woman with the knife, that's, if she sent that video in, that's particularly terrifying. But I mean,
smear that blood all over town.
But I mean, that's one of those random things where it's just like people just they just got that from out of thin air almost, like that. That's just one of those lucky accidents where people send in that kind of stuff and they get that result.
Yep. And then obviously you get the strippers that come in because they work. You know, she's like, "Oh, it's good to have some people with some dance experience. It's nice to see that you worked in Cats." And she's like, "No, Pussy Cats." You know, the club near the airport. And then obviously they're so ditzy and everything. It's like, "Give me a tea," and then it gets to her and it's like, "Give me a I," and it's like really, like, again, there's moments in there that in a football movie, even a comedy football movie, you wouldn't expect to actually get a lot of comedic value from, let's say, just some cheerleaders. But they do it so well, and they incorporate it into like the scene so well. Like the eye bit is where I'll show it. I've got it up here. It's like in between huddles. It's like in between plays, and they just show it. It's really funny.
There is a lot of great. I guess you'd kind of call it B-roll, or just like cutaway little moments that happen that just flesh out that you're actually watching like a real football game kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that, Blake. The distracting the team. That's.
Give me an N. N. Give me a T. T. Give me a I.
And then it's straight back into the game. It's just,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, the distracting the team that's one of the funniest moments of the movie as well.
Oh, I got to show this because again, Favreau's performance in this is so good. Like, I'm coming for you, Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
All day!
Just
All day!
screaming at him.
All day, Blue
Morning,
Eyes.
Santa's coming down to get me! I will bury your family!
I can
I'm gonna
imagine
bury
Biggles
your
doing this.
family, and you can see in his face how shit scared he is.
Yeah.
Actually, there was something I thought about before that I thought, you know, we've seen Keanu Reeves recently in, especially with John Wick, right? And how seriously he takes that role, and he goes out and really perform, like, you know, learns how to shoot guns, and you know, he's got a certain way of holding the gun and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I must
Got a lot of
admit, in this
dedication.
movie, he moves and looks like a quarterback. Like,
Well-
he is really, and they all do a great job. All the actors really do. But it, like, from my understanding, it is him under the helmet. Like in a lot of the scenes,
For the
there
most
might be
part, yeah. For the most part, it's
couple of
a lot of the
stunts.
actors doing it, but yeah.
It might
to
be
a
a couple
degree.
of stunt doubles in it, maybe a couple of them, but from my understanding, he did a lot of it. And his movement, again, very much like a quarterback. You can truly believe that he's a football player.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things I want to talk about because they kind of connect up. But
yeah,
I've got the DVD for it, and one of the making ofs is it's like kind of a specific like actors, how they prepared for the roles of being football players kind of thing. And Keanu specifically says that he got something like 40 back then it was like, you know, videotapes. He got like 40 videotapes of all like quarterbacks, like great moments, highlights,
different games,
big games, stuff like that. And he just watched them all, and he wanted to just sort of try and pick up what a quarterback does,
emulate it the best he could.
Yeah, kind of thing. And you can tell, like, even back then, and yeah, as you were saying, like it's carried through to John Wick and pretty much everything else he does. He's always had a real dedication.
It almost comes across, that he's a bit of a perfectionist in that sense. Like, he loves his craft of acting, and he really wants to make sure that he gets so prepared for the role that you can truly believe that, you know, this is what he's doing. I mean, probably the outlier would have to be The Matrix, but that's because it's all like cables and, you know, a little bit ridiculous in that sense. Whereas in his more realistic roles, I mean, even John Wick is sort of unrealistic in a sense, but, you know, I would say it's more realistic than your Matrix movies.
Yeah.
But like even for a role like I'm going a little bit off script here, but even for like his role in Point Break, you know, I mean, he plays an undercover cop.
It was also an ex-football player.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I think he was a surfer before that, but like that's him surfing in a lot of that. Like that's, you know, him physically doing a lot of the stuff. And when we say like he's dedicated and he prepares for these roles, he does it very differently to someone like a Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, who, you know, that's like the kind of method acting where he will go and live as a shoemaker for like a year if he's doing a movie about a shoemaker kind of thing. Whereas Keanu's more like he'll get the skills, but he's not gonna sort of, you know, drastically bend his life. Like he's an actor kind of thing. Like it's acting. Yeah. It's not becoming another person in a way. It's just it's pretending to be another person to an extent. But also with a lot of the football stuff, because in that same behind the scenes thing, the two opposing coaches in the games that they show, one of them where the cheerleaders are distracting the other team and the coach is going ballistic.
Stop them shaking their asses for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Him and the Dallas coach from the last game are both the
actual coaches.
Well, I don't know if they are actual coaches or if they were actual coaches, but they were the football coordinators for the movie. And I think they were sort of like either players or college players and stuff like that. But they had a lot to do with getting the actors up to speed and making it look like it was things that were really happening. So and then
creating
they
the
got
plays
there.
in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the Dallas coach in the movie, he's been in a lot of football movies as like the other team's coaches, and I think that's why like they were saying he's been in, I think at that point up like 13 football movies. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean,
I've
it's
got
almost
another
an
one.
industry.
I've got another one of my favorites, and I know it's one of your favorite scenes as well, and it is in that first game. So obviously in the first game, they're down quite heavily. They give away, I think it's a record for the most amount of penalties. And again, it goes to the cheerleaders, and the only two cheerleaders that are cheering for hitting a record for getting the most penalties in the opening stages of the game are the two strippers.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, it just cuts back to them, and they're like, oh, they've hit a record for the most amount of penalties. They're like, yeah, like cheering.
Hey Trey, how are you, mate?
Yeah, g'day, Trey. Excuse me, but they obviously start coming back in that first game, and they need to get the ball back. And this another like Jon Favreau has some of the best comedic moments in this movie. I will give him that, and he does it so well. And we'll play this out.
Danny. I need that ball. Get me the ball. You need the ball. Get me the ball. Get you the ball. Are you going to get me the ball? I'll get you the ball.
I love this line.
If he doesn't kill somebody.
Yeah.
It goes on, and we will play it a bit, but man, if we keep playing too much of this, you're going to get. I know that you're not monetized or anything, but you're going to get copyright strike.
That's nothing. I got like 14 on my one of my first streams I did a stream for Predator, the movie.
Yep.
And I got like just claim after claim, like every day from like some other random place. It was weird. But yeah, I don't really care too much about that. It's just more if I have to go in and like trim a little bit, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But I was telling you before the stream started, that scene there, that exchange was just
now, is it that one written, or is it the one after he gets the ball?
It was. I'm pretty sure it was both.
Or is it the whole thing?
It was the first exchange. It was just written, "Get me the ball," and Gene Hackman said to Jon Favreau, "Just keep repeating what I'm saying to you back to me and get more intense as you're doing it." And it was just Gene Hackman kind of building that scene completely from just 3 words on the page, and that's it does show like that's sort of like a master actor and another sort of really talented comedic actor working together. And that is one thing Gene Hackman doesn't get, I think, enough credit for. Is he's been in a lot of really great comedic movies, and he's not like the comedic character in it, but as the straight man, he does a lot of legwork in those movies.
Well, yeah, like I didn't know that. I like other than when you told me before, but if on the paper or in the script, all it says is get me the ball, get the ball, and he's basically gone, all right, John, we need to ramp this up a little bit. We can't just say get me the ball and okay, I'm going to get you the ball. And the way that they've done this scene is so good, and then the way that it ends, like I got to play this out.
I'm back!
Get the ball! He's ripped the ball. Gets it.
Yeah.
And then he gets up, and the way that he gets up, I got it!
Yeah.
Now that is all Madden.
Like even just these shots where he's running, like no defensive player is going to run off the field with the ball in their hand. They're going to give it back to the thing. But again,
and it's just no acknowledgement of his teammates. He's just picked up the ball and he's straight off.
Yeah. And then
his moment is great.
You got the ball! You got me the ball! You got me the ball! Go sit down now, Danny.
Okay. And the way...
I'm pretty sure that was an improv as well from Hackman, the director said. I'm pretty sure that was an improv moment. Just go sit down now, Danny.
Oh, man. So good. So good. I will say also too in the bar fight, I do love the way that the bar fight sort of starts with Brian obviously sitting there ordering drinks, and he's like, Martel comes in and goes, "Oh, I guess there's one good thing about being deaf. You couldn't hear all the boos today and all this kind of stuff." And he keeps giving shit to the deaf guy. And of course, Falco jumps up and says, "You know, you had enough." Like that not at that point actually, because he gets punched and then says, "Have you had enough?" But he's like, you know, "Do you want to knock it off?" or something like that. And he's like, what's the problem? It's not like he can hear me. He's like, "Yeah, but I can."
Yeah.
And then obviously the deaf guy gets up and he's like, I love the way he does it. Like he writes down on the piece of paper and he's like, gives it to Shane, and Shane reads it out. He goes, "Oh, the great thing about being deaf is you can't hear the assholes." And then he points at him, "You asshole," like this. And then that's when Martel punches Shane. He's like, "It's all right, it's all right, it's all right. You had enough." It's like, "You got shit for brains, Falco." And then that's when Danny comes in.
Amara. Also the birdcage. I mean, he's not really the comedic actor in that, but the birdcage is one of the all-time great comedy movies. But yeah, and also like going on from that altercation between Brian, the deaf player, and Martel. And then at the end of the movie, their altercation on the field where he's still giving him shit. And it keeps cutting back to Shane watching that on the TV happening. And it's sort of like the driving force to like, no, I've got to go back and you know, these are my teammates and they're getting sort of like unfairly treated kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those.
I also love the message that, like, so I know we're jumping sort of around everywhere, all over the place, but I don't think it's really a problem with this movie. But in that final game, when obviously Martel's their quarterback for the first half of that game, and just before, like, obviously when Shane gets told, like, you know, he crossed the picket line, unfortunately you're not playing because the owner wants Martel to play. Is like, well, you know, he is one of the best quarterbacks, and he goes, "Yeah, but he's got no heart," you know.
Yeah.
And then Shane's about to turn the game off, and they're doing the interview while the coach is walking off.
Yeah.
And McGinty says, "What?" Like she asks, "What do you need to get yourself back in this game?" And he goes, "Heart." And she goes, "Like what?" And it's like miles and miles of heart, and it just, you know.
He's just talking to one person in that interview. He's just directly talking to Shane because he knows Shane's watching. Like, you know, Shane wouldn't be able to not watch that game.
Yeah.
But I think I put in the thumbnail that, like, a paraphrase of that quote. But yeah, it's I mean, Gene Hackman, apart from his comedic roles in the past, like, he's also one of the best. I mean, I can only think of two off the top of my head. This one and Hoosiers, but he plays a pretty good coach in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's that inspirational leader, and but he's not the. I mean, he can be the yelling sort of leader as the coach, but he's more sort of the philosophical, build their confidence leader.
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah, great coach. And then obviously after the bar fight, there is the prison, the jail cell scene, which, again, I admit, first I was afraid. And then he's like, "You were afraid?" And then he's like, "I was petrified." And Shane's like, "You were petrified? Thinking I could never live without you by my side." And then, like, that just goes into that team bonding moment. And then the coach rolls up. And I do love it too in that bit where everybody stops dancing except for the deaf guy, except for Brian,
and he's
because
in the background.
he can't hear, and it's like he's still doing the dance and everything. And
one of the things I found out in the commentary is all the actors were against that scene. None of them wanted to do the dance scene. None of them thought it was sort of necessary for the movie. But watching the movie, if you don't have that scene, I don't think the movie works as well.
I agree. I think that without that, like, we've been, like, again, this is a movie that's full of setups and payoffs, and I feel like from yes, they get beaten because he thinks that he thinks that he sees blitz happening, and he changes the call, and that fucks everything up, and he gets a stern talking to from McGinty as they're walking off the field. And they did start to find their chemistry, and then there's obviously the bar fight, which he even says to Annabelle, it all feels like just rolled into one big beating from the game to the fight. And that scene in the I mean, it's funny at the same time that it's not really, it's not a ha ha ha, like a belly laugh, kind of funny scene, but it kind of pays off from him putting on music, and the track that he picked, it didn't even play the track that he picked, and it just played that song. And that's another thing too with this movie, is that the soundtrack for this movie is so perfect. I mean, we've talked about and I've talked about this a lot. The Star Wars and the music in that, it really helps make the movie and make the scenes as tense as they should be, or as good as they should be. The music and the soundtrack in this movie is perfect. The way that they set it up and everything, the way that the different songs come in and out of certain scenes, and it's like Bad Girls comes on when they're doing the strippers are doing their dance, which distracts them from the game and all of that sort of thing. It's just a perfect movie in my eyes. It really is so good.
Yeah. The soundtrack is one of those things that it's not set in its time. Like that, it starts off with the Lit song, a Ziploc Bag. It's basically from that era. But I mean, apart from that, there's only one other song I can think of that is completely from that era, with the Dandy Warhols later on. They play like the start to Bohemian Like You. But that's really the only other song. Everything else is very much eclectic. It's from all different time periods, and it all fits exactly what the action on screen is happening. Like especially all those cheerleader songs are perfect. When all the cutaways during the games, all the cheerleaders doing that, all those songs are perfect as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 55 minutes in before I said Star Wars. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like even in that second game where obviously the cheerleaders distract him, but in that opening play, Falco's getting absolutely dominated by one of the defensive players, Morrison, I think it is, and Morris.
Yeah.
And he's like, let Morris by, and he throws the ball at his head, and Jumbo's the one that catches it, and he scores a touchdown. And, even the commentator's like, I love seeing a fat guy score, because when you see a fat guy score, you get a fat guy spike and a fat guy dance. Really, really good. Again, that's another thing that you wouldn't be able to make today, because just mentioning the fact that you've got a fat guy scoring, a fat guy doing the fat guy spike and the fat guy dance, like it wouldn't be necessarily socially accepted these days. And I think that's where a lot of entertainment is losing its spark, because, comedy comes from, being maybe a little bit on the edge of, and if you're a big guy or a big girl and you get offended by, those lines in a movie, well, that's your problem.
Yeah, well, yeah. A lot of the comedy comes from the difference. It's like it's not all like you just like if you're just making fun of well, I mean, if like everyone's the same in the movie, the jokes get very sort of stale.
Yeah.
Like the comedy comes from the differences.
You could even say, though, the same thing about Nigel Gruff. When he meets the coaches and he goes, I thought you said he was solid muscle. And he's like, I'm wiry like this. And, it's like, what the shit is that? He says. It's just, it's politically incorrect, but there's no problem with what they're doing in this movie. It's not like it's offensive. It's just funny.
No. Yeah. It's not at anyone's expense, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not making fun of the guy who scored because he's fat. He's making fun of making fun of the situation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Of the fat guy scoring and carrying like 4 or 5 players over the line with him as he does it.
Yep. And then obviously we got to play it, don't we? We got to play the cheerleader. cheerleader scene.
Yeah.
Booty. Again,
There's a reaction from a guy in the crowd. It is one of the fucking funniest things ever.
the one where he goes
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Hello, Annabelle.
That's coming up.
Think of our friends.
What do you think about friends? They're friendly.
They're friendly.
Yes, he's got the rest of the friends in.
Yeah.
This guy, he's coming up.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
It's so
I love that.
good.
I love that reaction.
It's so good. So good. But yeah, let's get the bit where they put them off. All the players. And
Yeah,
again,
so he's one of the behind the scenes coaches that helped them with a lot of the football stuff in the movie as well. And he's got great reactions as well, like for sort of like a non-actor. He's got some great one-liners to what is happening on the screen.
Yeah. I gotta pause, or else we might even just get taken down for a few minutes playing it this long too. But
Yeah, we might be all right.
yeah. What the hell? So good.
And even the ref.
Even him, like checking it out. And again, like the way the music just sort of stops after that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, the musical editor, or maybe even the sound editing in this movie is really great. And it's one of the things we'll get to later. You've mentioned it before, the bar scene and the editing between that and like that it is all really, really high quality.
But even the way the quarterback gets up and he's like, you know, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Number 53, 5 yards. Still first down. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
The one girl slapped the other girl in the ass there, Jimmy.
The other girl slapped the other girl in the ass there, Jimmy. Like, it's really good. It is. From that guy, the coach of the other team. And he goes on to say they did it again. Oh, that's where that. Hang on, sorry. Let me share this again because even the way that this quarterback sort of, you know, he's like what do you expect? And this guy, and then it brings in this song. It's again.
It is it's wall-to-wall music. This like the first like couple of times I didn't really notice just how many different songs are in it. But it's like they'll go they'll just go the intro to a song and then stop for a second, and then another song will just come straight in.
Yep.
But it's not sort of bombarding you. It is very much well layered and well placed.
Yep. And then obviously Nigel comes in to win the game for them with a 65-yard field goal, and he's smoking on the field and like all of that stuff. He's like, you just hold it, Shane, and I'll kick the piss out of it.
Yeah, and I love that Madden and I can't remember Martello or something. I don't know the other dude's name, the other commentator, but he's like, I think that guy's smoking on the field, and then the other commentator's like, "No, you're just imagining that.
You're just imagining it." It's like, no, I'm pretty sure I saw the smoke.
Yeah,
really good.
Those two, like, as they are real, the real football commentators from the time, I'm pretty sure. But those two, they have a real great sense of the comedy in the movie as well. Like they're not just there just playing straight
being serious
characters.
commentators.
They've got a lot of the legwork in a lot of the jokes.
Yeah, for sure. But also, too, the thing that I love is, Nigel makes that first field goal in the first game, and Danny Bateman comes running out. He's like, yes, yes, boom, and knocks him out, knocks him down. And then in this one, when he kicks the goal to win the game, he's running after him through the, again, really good through that. But one thing that I also want to say with Nigel is, again, another great setup and payoff with him in his bar, obviously with the thug guys that obviously lent him money. And then in the last game, they see him on the TV in this game. And then in the last game against Dallas, is it the Dallas game? I think it is the Dallas game.
The last one, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, they're in the stands, and he's like, I've got to blow this kick or else I'm dead. And Shane's like, are you okay, Nigel? And he starts saying, like, I pissed it on the track. I pissed the money down the track. Yeah. They're going to kill me, blah, blah, blah. And Shane's got to think really quick on his feet. He hikes the ball and, it's a dummy play. He actually scores the touchdown, but there's a penalty and that obviously fucks everything up. But again, another great payoff and a setup and payoff.
And Shane still kind of gets his hero moment there. Like, he does score, but they take it off him. But I mean, like, it's a random flag or whatever. But
I'm sorry, give me 1 second. This
no worries. Charles is being a menace.
Oh, being a son of a bitch.
But yeah, I mean, it's it is a great switch, and to see I mean, Rhys Ifans, like, he kind of just gets a little bit shafted there, but I mean, it does give him that end to his story in a way, and it's not the best end, but yeah, he goes off with a broken arm, but it keeps him upright at least. But the Dallas game, I do love that at the start of it, you can see that they don't have that leader, and then at the end of it, Shane is very much the winner who wants the ball in his hands with that play, and he does complete that circle of the relationship with the coach at the start. But on that one, for it to be taken away from him, it was one of those, you think the movie's over, and then no, we're just gonna pull you back in for one last
we're gonna take that away from you. Excuse me. Let's take a look at that bar scene, because I'm pretty sure the bar scene is before they travel. So
yeah, it's just before
he asks, "You're not traveling with the team?" And she's like, "No, we don't travel with the team."
Yeah, I think it's yeah.
So this, to me, and I think for you as well, this is one of the best edited scenes, I think, in regards to incorporating two scenes into one.
Yeah.
And it's when he's obviously goes and sees Annabelle at the bar, and he goes and gets his drink because she invited him down there, and, they're talking, and they haven't quite yet, this is their first kiss moment sort of thing. And the way the commentary is for the game that they're playing is essentially describing what he's doing to go in to get a kiss and score with Annabelle.
Yeah, it's the play-by-play. It's
yeah,
and it's so many elements working together in this edit. It just works perfectly. I mean, you start off with the Sting music, to begin and to sort of like kick off the scene and everything.
And she's looking all dreamy.
Yeah, and there is no dialogue between the two actors that are there. It's all the play-by-play commentary and the music before that.
Okay. Great track. You're gonna get so many copyright claims on this fucking stream. I haven't gone far enough.
What do you do here, John?
What do you do here, John?
Yeah.
You have to. But Falco's been shut down by this defense all afternoon.
So good.
It is, yeah. It's perfect.
I'll tell you this: all it takes is one big play to get him back in the ballgame.
And here goes Falco.
And it is perfect because it does everything they need in this scene, and then it cuts almost all of the next game out, so you've saved so much time. And it finishes the story of the third game basically, or like.
Well, you get a little bit of it because even the commentator is using the squiggle board to describe the play that he's just shown, and it's like, you know, it's the most sloppy play you've ever seen. Like, this guy's going to get hit, boof, and the ball's going to come out, and this person's going to pick it up, and then all of a sudden, whap, you know, and he's describing the play like, just,
and it ends up back with Falco,
the man who started the play, in the end zone for a touchdown. Like,
it's one of those perfect moments in editing where you can tell the story still with no dialogue, and you're basically also setting up the next scene as you do it.
Yep.
But and that moment afterwards where John Madden is doing the diagram of everything that just happened is brilliant. And then there's a moment, I think, just after that as well. It's maybe it might have been a bit later in the Dallas game, but I think the next play that they do, is that the kick as well? Is that where Nigel gets one of the kicks in this game?
No, I don't think we see Nigel kick in this game.
Oh, okay, no. Then that was the game before then, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, this moment is another one of those things where it's just they add a little bit of that wackiness into the football, and but it works. It's not too over the top, and you don't see it sort of like that whole game play out in its context. It's just one or two moments taken from that game, kind of like a highlights package of them.
Well, I think that's the only moment from that game that we actually see, and they've won the game because they won the game with that last play there. So obviously, again, like, you know, they've got to win 3 out of the last 4 games of the season to make the playoffs. They lost the first one, so they've got to win the last 3. They won the next game. They won this game away. And that's when, obviously, we go back to the Dallas game.
It is Mar.
Oh, hang on. No. Sorry, my bad. Hang on. We see Nigel kick the ball in that game, and they win that, and then it cuts to... Oh, okay, so we'll play this bit out. Hang on. Let me just get to the right spot, because we've already talked about this, but this is the other play that we get to see from that, where the Clifford Franklin with the
that's
I look like I jacked off an elephant. That's in this game as well.
Thought I had it, and then the ball. Hey, shut up! Give me the sticker.
Hey, shut up!
Coach, ain't that stuff illegal? What are they gonna do? Put you in football jail? Now, you know this don't look natural. Now you know it don't. Don't talk. We're gonna run the same play. Do you hear me? You're gonna catch the ball. Coach, I look like I just jacked off an elephant. Hey, you understand?
You understand?
I understand. Okay.
And then he's in the huddle trying to get the cup off, and he's shaking it. He's like, "Shane, I can't get the cup off." He just grabs it and chucks it.
And I love that
he tries to spike the ball.
Yeah, I love that delivery from Hackman. Just say you understand.
Yeah.
Go out and catch a ball for a change, all right? All right. Come on, let's go.
So good. That's him trying to get the cup
Franklin!
off.
Franklin! Shane, I can't get a damn cup off.
And then he's like, on one, ready? And they clap, and he's trying to pull his hands apart. So, like, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Yeah, and this is where he catches the ball and he tries to spike the ball, and then he's got to give it back to the defender. That's the end of that video.
But yeah, it's those like it's not like a it's like it's probably in, I don't know if this was really the first to use that sort of like they put the adhesive on the hands kind of thing, but I mean you see that in almost every football movie that is like a sports comedy kind of one. But I always think that line that I look like I just jacked off an elephant, that makes that version of that scene the funniest out of any of the other ones I've ever seen.
Yeah. But like even in this final game, the Dallas game, I put it out on Twitter after I watched it because it's probably again one of my favorite lines in the movie, where pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever. And he goes like, he comes into the huddle, is like, I know I should probably say something really inspiring and inspirational and all this kind of stuff, but that just wouldn't be our style. And then he comes out and says those three little quotes.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be more inspirational than that. Like, it's so perfect. And then obviously you've got the Nigel he breaks Nigel's arm because he goes to kick the ball as hard as he can and, falls back and breaks his arm. And he's so thankful for that. And he's like, okay, who wants the ball? Because there's the penalty. The whole stream's going to be clean.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
it is a rough end for Nigel, but he got away with it in the end.
Yeah, but like that's where you get. This is where in this final game, this is where you get the payoff with that Priest guy who gets his touchdown but blows out his knee, so he can no longer run any more plays or anything like that. Brian gets his glory moment with the final play of the game.
Which I think is the best outcome, because I think he was the sort of the most likely out of all of them to succeed in the game. And well, besides Falco, but I think that having those two have that connection throughout the movie as well really helped that moment at the end.
But then also too, just the way that Gene Hackman narrates the final moments of this movie, I think is really,
because that is one of my favorite moments of the movie is Gene Hackman's sort of, I guess you'd call it the final narration of the story of what happens to the Washington Sentinels going forward. Like he says,
this is it. You want to play it?
Yeah.
When the replacement players for the Washington Sentinels left the stadium that day, there was no ticker tape parade. No endorsement deals for sneakers or soda pop or breakfast cereal.
And you see this, like, again, there's so many scenes that we missed where, Franklin's like, Earl Wilkinson, you're Earl Wilkinson. Like when they're sitting down eating dinner or whatever. And he's like, man, if you hadn't have beat up those cops, and he looks at him, he's like, allegedly beat up those cops. And then he looks at him and goes, I'm a cop. Like this. And he's like, hey, look. Mud cake, and he just runs away. Like there's so like little moments like that are really good. But then like again at the end here, you've got these guys,
just a locker to be cleaned out,
they're mates
and a ride home to catch. But what they didn't know was that their lives would be changed forever. You too, Shane. Because they had been part of something great. And greatness, no matter how brief, stays with a man. Every athlete dreams of a second chance. These men lived it.
And it just ends.
Because it sums up the movie perfectly, like that speech. Like the movie is all about second chances. And like one question, would you ever have wanted a sequel to The Replacements?
No,
No?
no.
Like, not to see, like, what happened in the playoffs, or maybe, like, if they came back the next season? Because
Well,
they
no,
say, like,
because
they say there
the
that the players didn't play in the playoffs, like the
well,
real
they
players.
apparently even there's the news report in this movie where they say that the strike is coming to an end.
Yeah.
At the home and away season end. So all the bigwig players, all the highly paid players are all coming back to now play in the playoffs. So I think, if they could have, if they didn't put something like that in, and Gene Hackman didn't have this final quote at the end of it, they could have done a playoff version of The Replacements.
Yeah.
The Replacements,
almost like a Major League 2. Like, if you've seen Major League and Major League 2, almost do like a not a carbon copy, but a spiritual sequel, like that kind of thing.
But in the same token, I think this movie is so perfect, wrapped up in the little nutshell that it is. They got 4 games that they've got left. They've got to at least win 3. They win those 3 games. They get their glory. They get their moments. And it's better, I think, for something like this, it's better just to leave it up to your imagination. Like, I'd like to think that after all of this happened, a couple of people might have reached out to Shane Falco and, you've still got a cannon of an arm. That sugar ball thing was a disaster. Yeah, you lost by 45 points, but, 45-0, I think the sugar ball, that score was. And that's referenced a lot throughout the movie. Like, even Nigel says, I lost a ton of money on that sugar ball disaster of yours. And, like, there's the bit with Annabelle where she talks about the sugar ball and he goes, didn't anybody have anything better to do that day?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many references to that. And
it's like the most famous game on the world.
I mean, the only way that they could do a Replacements 2, it's a bit ridiculous to call it the Replacements 2. They could have done a Shane Falco,
Spin-off,
where he actually gets an actual contract with a team and, goes into that team the very next season and wins the Super Bowl or something like, you could do something like that. But again, I think just in an isolated movie by itself, it's so perfectly wrapped up by the end of this movie that it's almost like, the sequel's never as good as the original. I think that you could do it and you could definitely do it well enough, but I just don't think it could live up to the expectations of this.
No, and it would be the same. It would be very much like, unless you're just saying all the players that came back after the strike completely left again. There's no way you could. Yeah, you couldn't call it The Replacements. You'd just be sort of struggling to sort of find a story at that point. And but yeah, it is one of those ones where it is you are still interested to know what happened to Shane Falco. Did he sort of keep playing, or all those sort of things?
It's one of those movies that when you get to the end of the movie, it's like, is that it? I could have watched another hour of this movie. It was that
it's kind of
entertaining and that good.
Yeah, I bring up Major League a lot because I always got to the end of Major League and they kind of stop there. Like, they don't win the World Series, but they win like the divisional playoffs or the something. Like, I'm not a big baseball fan. I know Biggles likes the Mets because he's a soccer fan, but I'm not really I'm not really, like, I don't really know how the season and all that works. But
no, neither do I. Baseball is very I will say complex. I mean, there's a lot of games in there. I've never paid too much attention to the baseball side of things. Yeah. Again, it's so perfectly left where it is. He obviously gets the girl at the end. Him and Annabelle are hooking up at the end of the game, and it's a great story arc for her as well. She's like, I never date football players. And he's like, not even quarterbacks. And she's like, especially quarterbacks. They're the biggest babies of all. And he's like, babies. Like, and then by the end of the movie, she's fallen in love with him. She's fallen for him and he's fallen for her. And, like I said, the way that the setups are there and the way that this pays off, by the end of the movie, every little story thread, down to the most minute story threads or plots that they had for each individual character, is tied up in a nice little bow that I wouldn't want them to do it.
No.
Because again, you're just going to undo some of those bows to create some sort of tension in some way. You know, I mean, if you want to do anything in regards to this story, do a prequel story and show Shane Falco's downfall all the way up to the Sugar Ball.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would be necessarily, like, there's no happy ending to that. It's Shane fucking getting dumped because of his fucking disaster of a game.
Yeah, I could have maybe seen like a sequel with Gene Hackman, like as a coach still, and he's got like maybe another, not replacement players, but maybe like another, like maybe a rookie quarterback comes in and he's got like a sort of another ragtag bunch.
Well,
of
okay,
players.
if you're gonna do that, then the best way that I think that you could do it is that, like, because of what happened during these replacement games, you know, Shane and McGinty get offered contracts or something, and you'd want to put them up against each other. You wouldn't want them to be necessarily with each other, but you could almost say that the happy ending is like by the mid-season trade or something, McGinty's fighting so hard to get his quarterback back, to get Shane on his team, that maybe, you know, he gets him or something. I don't know exactly how you could do it, but don't get me wrong, there would be a story there to tell, but it's like I said, I just think that it would undermine the way this finishes.
Yeah.
You know,
I see it a lot whenever I'll talk about the replacements, or like I'll see people bring it up in like other chats and like just chat about the movie, and a lot of the time I'll see the people ask for, like, I wish there was a sequel, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a movie that a sequel does.
See, this is the thing, because you enjoyed it. No, it's what it is. It's because you enjoyed it so much, you want more of it.
Yeah.
But then what would be the problem is that they do more of it, and you would actually probably be more likely to be disappointed by it than you would be entertained by it. It's kind of like, you know, that scene, the Get Me the Ball scene, right? And how you mentioned that in the commentary, it was like all we had in the script was get the ball. And, you know, Gene Hackman got Favreau and they're like, okay, we need to ramp this scene up a little bit. Let's do this and just maybe see how it goes. You take those elements away, you know, actors are actors, you know, and if you're going to get sort of Gene Hackman back and all of that sort of thing, you know, it could work. But again, I just wouldn't want to see it.
No.
It's kind of like
I am one of those people where I would, if Gene Hackman was, because he's pretty much retired from acting now, and if Gene Hackman came back for anything, I'd be there.
Oh, he's one of those actors though. But see, this is back when movies and cinema was actually like written well, directed well. I mean, we talked about the score of this fucking movie, and you know, you've got songs jumping in here and there, and it adds so much to it. It's just, all in all, it's such a great movie. It's a great sports movie. It's a great comedy.
Well, I've mentioned him a couple of times, the director, but I haven't really said his name. Well, Howie Deutsch, or Howie Dutch. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I mean, he's got a really long pedigree from before that the Replacements came out of comedy. Like, I'm pretty sure he directed 16 Candles, comedies all the way back to the mid '80s and stuff. Like, he was had a really great pedigree. Another one of my favorite comedies of all time. I don't know if you've seen it, Grumpy Old Men.
Oh,
with,
yeah, of course.
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
And Burgess Meredith. That's one of his movies. That's
a great movie too.
Yeah, and it has that kind of feel to it, where it's very much an actor's performance movie, more than probably a script. It's the actors doing with what's on the page that is making the movie special.
Yep.
But yeah, Howie's got a long pedigree of those sort of things. On a bit of a downer, this movie, I mean, I think I was looking it up. I don't know how accurate it is, but from what I was reading, the budget was about 50 million, and it only made about 50 million worldwide. So it wasn't like after this, well, not long after this, like the director, he kind of just shifted to doing a lot of TV stuff. So I don't know if this movie kind of like hurt his career a bit, but I mean, it made 50 million in America and about 5 million for the rest of the world. So it is like American football movies don't really travel internationally, but I think this one,
it almost grew and got better, like
yeah,
in
it is very much
time.
a DVD or a video, like a blockbuster rental
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I
'Cause
didn't know
I don't want
that.
to say the movie failed, but I'm pretty sure it would have got its money back.
Financially, it did, but
Hmm.
then it's one of those things. You know, all the sports movies. You know, you got the true story sports movies out there, like The Blind Side and those sorts of films. I don't reckon those movies would have made a lot of money,
No,
especially internationally.
no. I mean, I think Blindside might have because it got that Oscar push, and
Yeah, maybe.
Sandra Bullock was sort of like really big at the time, but it
She
would
was
have.
so fine in that movie.
Oh yeah, she even like from like Speed till like that movie, like and after. I don't know if you saw that one. I didn't see it, but I saw the trailer. There was a movie with her and Ryan Reynolds, and I was like, "Fuck, Sandra Bullock still looks hot, like smoking hot."
I think I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, she was like his boss, I think, and
and they hook up.
I think so. Yeah,
but it turns out that his comes from a pretty wealthy family. Yeah, no,
well,
I know the
spoil
movie.
it for me, Ryno. Thanks.
You've seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's not really a spoiler. It happens so early in the movie.
No, I will probably never will watch it anyway. So,
but another couple of moments that we sort of missed, chemistry building, is when they're in another moment when they're eating the food, and you got the Jackson brothers, you got Jumbo, and you got Nigel sitting there with him, and he's like, I don't know how. Like they're talking about the ribs, and he's like, I don't know how Chinese boy here gains 700 pounds eating this crap, sort of thing. And he's like, I'm not Chinese, I'm Japanese. And he goes, it's all the same thing. It's all that ching wow like this. And they start getting into it. And Nigel's like, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. And the other brother goes, what does he say? The MIG's right. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not a MIG or whatever. And he grabs him by the head. And he goes like, it's like, who cares?
I mean, not just like going back to before that, the wiry bit, there's a lot of the funny like little digs, like the Welsh stuff like that. He goes, you said before, like you said he was solid muscle, and he's like, he said he's kept up to shape, and then Hackman goes, yes, by Welsh standards.
Yeah, that's right.
But in that just the eating scene there, that is the most low key one that would never fly today, that scene.
Oh, no
and
way.
Not just because of that, like the exchange where they're talking about the Chinese food and stuff. The Asian guy drops the N-bomb. I don't know if you watch it with the subtitles on, and then but it just like the black dudes don't like
There's no
immediately go after him and
anything.
everything. They just brush it off because they're like we're saying shit to him, like of course he's gonna come back at us with weird shit.
Yep.
But and then the funny part is where later on Nigel's trying to break it up, and then he ends up basically in the fight as well with them.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to sit with the deaf kid. And they all just like break apart.
Yeah.
So good. So good. But like, everybody these days, they're talking about representation and all of that sort of thing. I mean, think about it. You got a big Japanese sumo guy. You've got a plethora of black characters, black cast. You've got a Welsh guy. You've got a deaf guy. You've got a priest or a pastor. You've got so many different elements in this movie, and it all comes together. And you wouldn't think that it would work or that it would fit, but they just make it like this is where, like, not just the chemistry between Hackman and Keanu Reeves, but the chemistry between the entire cast is so brilliant.
Yeah.
you've got the scene where, you know, he shoots out the guy's windscreen, Martel's windscreen and all of that. And he's, you know, they're walking away and it's like, what's that smell? And he's like, it's wild yam. He's like, I like it. Like there's great little chemistry moments between all of these characters. And, you know, even the bit that we were talked about with Earl Wilkinson with the watch, you know, we get out of where there's no screaming, like people can't hear when you're out of screaming distance. The chemistry between the entire cast, I think, was brilliant. So very well put together. Favreau, I think he's got some of the most comedic moments throughout the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and he wasn't like fully like
I don't even know.
Like he was very much just a sort of like a working actor back then, and like he still directed I think Maid and maybe another movie before that.
Had he done Friends by then, or was that after that?
I think that was just like it was either
around the same
at
time.
the same time, yeah, or just after. But he had a lot of those roles back then, and I think this as a comedic role really was one of his breakout ones. I mean, Friends got him noticed by probably a lot more people, but I think as a talent and an actor, like working with a lot of the people he was working with sort of really propelled him as well.
Yeah, it really shows his range.
Yeah. I do want to say, but the Earl Wilkinson, he was one of my favorite actors for a while. His name's Michael Jace. He was in a show called The Shield, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into it too much here, but his real life story is a lot worse than what they portray his character to have done in that movie. I'll just put it that, like, they say the character beat up cops in real life. Like what that actor did in real life was much more horrific than that. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it kind of puts a little bit of a downer on the movie for me when I watch it back, because I was a really big fan of him, and I thought he was such a really talented actor, sort of like on the verge of like doing some big things. But I'll briefly say, like, I'm pretty sure he murdered some members of his family. Yeah, so I'm not 100% really like thrilled when I watch his character back in these movies, but you do separate like the character from the real person. And
I will say, every time I see the actor that plays Clifford Franklin in anything else now, I go, oh look, it's Franklin. Like it's just every time I see him now, because he's I don't think he's got any major roles. Yeah, notice Lethal. Good on you, man. Yeah, I don't think he's got any real major roles where he's like a lead or anything like that, but he always shows up in these different shows or movies, and I'm like, oh, that's a surprise.
Have you seen Evolution?
Yes,
David Duchovny?
With David Duchovny, he's in that. Yeah.
I think that's the first time besides The Replacements I would have seen him. Yeah, and like
his role in that's really good too.
Yeah, actually, it's a goofy movie. And like I know a lot of people probably, it wouldn't be like high on their list of great movies or great comedies, but that was one of the movies where I saw that in the theater, and I had such a good time. Yeah,
we should talk about that movie one day.
Sure. that's going to go on the list for sure.
Yeah.
That is, and it's because I was always David Duchovny from X-Files, like the sort of real serious Mulder. And to see him as that sort of style character in that movie, that was just such a turnaround and such a thrill for like an X-Files fan.
Yeah.
And also
it's like almost like a comedy version of X-Files.
Yeah,
in a way,
and having Dan Aykroyd in it as well.
Yeah.
Who I'm a big fan of. Didn't see him in the chat today, Dan Aykroyd, but he might have been here lurking. I don't know.
Yeah, he probably was, man.
Yeah, he's a strange cat. He's a strange cat, that dude.
But yeah, I just, there's so many elements, and I'm so glad that you invited me to come on this, because it made me pull the movie out and watch it again, and like I was sitting on the couch and I was just laughing, and I got to like, I I think it was like the second game or something that they're playing, and I was actually saying to myself, "Fuck, I love this movie so
Yeah, I
much."
know.
Like, it's just so well. Like I said, it's well put together. It's well written. It's well edited. The pacing of it is fantastic. The way that they chop a couple of the scenes together, like with that bar scene, and it just rolls together so well, and the chemistry and the characters, it's brilliant.
Yeah, a
Really
lot of
is.
talented people had their hands on this movie, and you can tell when you
Yeah.
watch it.
For sure. I mean, when did it come out? What year was it? Was it 96?
2000, I think.
Was it 2000?
Pretty sure. Yeah, year
2000, yeah. There you go.
Because I always thought it was one of those real edge of the millennium movies, like a late 90s, early 2000s movie. It has that feel to it. But I mean, I kind of grew up in that era a little bit. I was a bit earlier, but it is a great era of movies, and especially
For
like I
sure.
talked about a little bit before, that was the Keanu Reeves renaissance was in full effect there. Like he had a lot of early stuff as like the sort of the surfer, whoa dude, all that sort of stuff, and then Speed kind of brought him into the serious. People took him seriously, and he became like the sort of the action star. And this I thought was one of the ones. And there's another one, I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's another kind of sports comedy movie called Hardball. He's a baseball coach in that one, a little league baseball coach. That is
It rings a bell.
yeah, that's another one from that era that is a really good Keanu Reeves one that's worth watching. But yeah, all those
I
movies
think-
of that era just
When was
Keanu was
when was
really,
Bill
really
and
doing well.
Ted? What year was
Bill and Ted, yeah,
What year
like
was
mid
that?
80s.
Was that
maybe
that
even earlier.
early?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
But
yeah,
like
he-
again, I'm just going through like some of Keanu Reeves' movies here. Have you seen 47 Ronin?
Yes.
Like I actually really like that movie.
Yeah. I like
and
it up until the end.
Yeah, okay. There's Constantine, which again, another great
Oh,
movie.
that's what I was going to ask. What are some of your favorite Keanu Reeves movies? But we'll go through it now. Like this, like Constantine is up there as one of my all-time favorite Keanu Reeves movies.
Yeah. I haven't seen The Lake House, but
It's not terrible.
I think the chemistry between those two characters from Speed and stuff like that is that would probably make that a good movie. Just the chemistry that they have.
It is one of those ones where it's Keanu and Sandra Bullock just sort of almost not really reprising their roles, but reprising that chemistry that they had in Speed. Because that is another one of my all-time favorite Keanu movies, Speed.
Devil's
I actually
Advocate.
haven't watched it in a long time.
Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one in a long time, but it's always one that when I do watch it, I'm like, Keanu does a great job in this. And not just because he's opposite Al Pacino for most of the movie, but
yeah,
he does a lot of great work in that.
Chain Reaction. I don't think I ever saw that. That's got Morgan Freeman in it.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I don't remember particularly liking it that much. I kind of lumped it in, I think, a bit with the movie he did around the same time, Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I think they're both a little bit, kind of a bit too sci-fi-ish without being overly sci-fi.
Yeah. There's River's Edge. I know I've seen that movie, but I honestly can't remember it for the life of me. I think if I was going to rank some of his more well-known, it's so hard to rank him though. There's so many good movies that he's done. I mean, if you talk about The Matrix, great movie. Like, well, 1 and 2, 1's definitely the best. 2's good. 3 sort of falls off a little bit for me, but still a good performance from him. You can't say that it's not. Bill and Ted's really good. His John Wick, like his more recent stuff, as his become like a better and better actor. I feel like, you know, things like John Wick, definitely great movies, and his performance in them is fantastic. And he's, like I said, he's sort of a bit of a perfectionist in the way that he wants to, you know, you never think for a second that he's read a script. You never think for a second that he's, you know, not actually doing the things that he's doing, despite how outrageous some of the things can be.
Oh no, yeah, his not just like his acting performance, but like his physical performance in those John Wick movies is phenomenal.
Oh, have you seen The Whole Truth? 2016 movie. It's like I think it's a bit of a courtroom sort of movie.
No, I haven't.
I know I've seen it, and I know that
I've heard of it, but no, I haven't seen it.
I did enjoy it. 47 Ronin, another, I reckon, great performance from him. Constantine. What do you think of Constantine?
I really like it. I mean,
So
I know
do
it's
I.
not very accurate to like the comic books. But
Yeah.
as a movie, I think it's really great. I think it's one of the best like a movie that uses a DC character.
Yeah.
That I've seen, probably besides, I mean, I'm a big Batman Begins fan as well, and they're all kind of that, they're both sort of like from that era. So I'm like, from
The Day the Earth
before
Stood
that,
Still. 2008 remake.
I mean, the original's so much better, but
I agree.
as far as the remakes go, it's not as bad a remake, I don't think, as War of the Worlds was with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And then,
I reckon,
and Keanu's performance is pretty cool in it.
I reckon all of the ones out of all the ones that I like haven't seen that I'd probably want to see would be The Lake House. Because again, it's just not my style of movie. Like, that's kind of the movie that you sit down with your missus or your girlfriend and watch, you know.
And it has some cool elements to it. It's not just like a straight up sort of romance movie.
Something's Got to Give with Jack Nicholson.
I haven't seen it, but I've I think I've got it actually, but I haven't watched it. But it
was in The Witcher. It was in The Witcher. It's a 2000 movie. I've never seen that.
No.
Sorry, no, not The Witcher. The Watcher. Fucking idiot.
Oh yeah, I remember
The
that. That's with Katie Holmes. And Greg Kinnear,
Sweet November. Never seen that. Devil's Advocate. I like. Chain Reaction. I can't. If I've seen it, I can't remember it. A Walk in the Clouds. Never seen that. Speed. All the X-Men. Sorry, not the X-Men movies. All the Matrix movies.
There's a decent movie he did with James Caan called Henry's Crime. It's a really not a well-known movie, but I enjoyed it.
Never seen that one.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah, that's pretty much most of his more popular movies. He was in Parenthood, apparently.
Yeah, that was one of his first ones, I think.
He must have been one of the kids in that.
No, he was the boyfriend of the one of the sisters, or like the teenage sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it. It's just been so long. I mean, that's 1989, that movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's he was a young hockey player in a movie called Youngblood, which is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Has a fairly good cast.
Thunderstruck. Never saw that. That's pretty much it, really. There's Knock Knock. Never saw that. When was that from? 2015.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about that one. That's the one where he's like a husband home alone, and like two like young, I don't know, 20 something or maybe late teen girls come over and sort of like basically rape him, I think.
Right.
Oh, A Scanner Darkly. Have you seen A Scanner Darkly?
No.
That's Richard Linklater movie. It's like they shot it live action, but it's got like an animated overlay over it,
Right.
rotoscoped. So like everything's sort of drawn. The people are drawn as they're moving. It's a really cool movie. The story's it's okay, but I think it's more you just watch it for the visuals, really.
Right. Do you reckon he'll ever, like, I just saw Biggles, his comic book is good. Do you reckon he'll ever actually make that into a something? Because the character's based off him, and he's not getting any younger.
I don't know if I heard somewhere that they are doing something with that book.
It'd be good. I mean, I've talked about, like, you know, Tom Cruise to me is sort of that last true artist when it comes to cinema and movies at the moment. I'll take that back and say Keanu Reeves is as well. Like he really respects the craft of acting. And what is he asking me?
No, he just said Ryno, and then he says, "I don't know why I sent that."
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't mind Bill and Ted 3. It was.
I haven't seen it.
No,
I still haven't seen it yet.
No, I don't enjoy it as much as the first two, but I don't. It was made in that period where, you know, everything was kind of going down one way after Ghostbusters 2016, but it didn't follow through with those sort of movies. It was a decent sequel.
See, like there's so many, like when I start thinking, just not just Keanu Reeves movies, but I start thinking of like really good movies that I used to love back in the day, and things like Equilibrium really come to mind. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah. The
like,
Christian Bale movie.
Yeah. Sean Bean, I know he's not in it for very long, but
he probably dies in it, yeah.
Great, he does.
Yeah, he dies in every movie.
He does in every movie. That's right. But what was another one that I was thinking of? Reality Bites. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I think Ben Stiller directed that movie. I'm pretty sure.
Like movies like that just don't exist anymore.
No.
And that's like, it's so funny. Like I'm going to bring up Star Wars again. I've been talking recently, obviously, about Andor and how slow and boring it's been, you know, sitting down and just conversations and after that and all of that. Reality Bites is very much a movie like that, where it's like a lot of dialogue, a lot of nothing really happens, but it's just, it's constantly sort of, for me, I haven't watched it for a very long time. I don't know how it holds up today, but it was just a really good, entertaining movie that you could just sit there and just, you know, kick back and watch. It's more a Sunday afternoon sort of movie for me, but yeah.
One I have like that. I mean, it's more action, a bit more. It's like not a, it's very dialogue heavy, but it's more of an action movie. Is here it's called The Wrong Man, but in America it's called Lucky Number 11. And it's Bruce Willis, Josh Hartnett, Lucy Liu.
I haven't seen that.
Morgan
I'm gonna have
Freeman.
to see that. Jeez,
Morgan
what a cast.
Freeman, Ben Kingsley. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Just purely for the way the dialogue is written and the way the actors. I mean, because everyone I named there is pretty much really talented, and Ben Kingsley, Morgan Freeman, like completely at the top of their game. Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies where it's got like Tarantino dialogue, but it's so fast. There's no real pauses, or it's just everything they need to say is sharp and to the point, and
it's got meaning.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's one of those movies where I'll be probably doing it on this channel hopefully pretty soon, because I know Rady is a big fan of the movie as well. We did a watch party. Unfortunately, she had to watch the movie with me and Mozza. But we did a watch party in her Discord, and it's one of those ones where every time you watch it, you pick up something else that's being said, because it's so dense, it's so layered that it's just perfect. And I mean, Lucy Liu, like I've never really been like, oh, Lucy Liu's. I'm such a big Lucy Liu fan, but Lucy Liu in this movie is one of the best performances I've ever seen from an actress.
Right. What's that called?
Here it's called The Wrong Man, but in America it's called Lucky Number 11.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
Bruce
check
Willis.
that out. Sounds like a fucking great cast.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect, and it's one of those ones where it builds towards the end. Like it's very much it's one of those listening movies. Like you'll listen and you want to know what's happening as you're going, kind of thing. Oh, I just watched that the other day. Actually, it was on TV somewhere.
Charlie's Angels, yeah.
And she is. I forgot how good she is in that as well.
Yeah.
Because it was. That's one of those ones where at the time when that came out, didn't really like. It was a good movie. I liked it, but watching it now and I haven't seen it, but trying to like thinking about that remake that they recently made, the Charlie's Angel remake one. And the difference in, I guess you'd call it overall quality, not just of the movie, but of the actual
the tone, the
came out of it.
But also too, the feminine. Can you tell out of the way? The femininity side of it. I think there's a very vast difference between that old one with Lucy Liu and those.
Oh, they were straight up action stars, but they also they played off the female or the feminine aspect of that in those movies perfectly.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the movie Empire Records?
Way back in the day. It was like that high fidelity. Always kind of found them very similar.
Yeah, it's like it was back in sort of like those teen movies, sort of that teen movie era, I think, like when they came out with like Not Another Teen Movie, that was sort of around that period of time. Liv Tyler and, I really actually liked that movie.
I'll have to go back and watch it because it has been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember that's Jack Black, isn't it? Or is he High Fidelity?
No, it's not. No, I think that's High Fidelity.
Yeah, so he's in High Fidelity.
Yeah.
I always get those two mixed up. But the movies from that era, there's like it's like people say like 80s movies have that 80s charm, and there's definitely a 90s and a sort of a late 90s, early 2000s charm to a lot of these movies as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And it's kind of like I was like they don't make movies the way it's so funny in my industry. They say like they don't make cars the way they used to. They don't make movies. I mean, we've seen that so much. They don't make TV shows. They don't make movies the way they used to. And when you actually think back, like I said, even a movie like Equilibrium, it's like it was such an. I think the only reason why that wasn't such a well-known movie and like probably won awards and stuff like that is because it was overshadowed by other excellent fucking movies. Like,
yeah, it was I
think they came out the year The Matrix came out.
I
think they came out the same year The Matrix came out. Is that right? I now need to look that up.
They were very, very close. Like it was only like a year or something between them. I think a couple of years.
2002.
Yeah, definitely had that hangover.
Yeah. 2002. Fuck, I didn't think I thought that was a 90s movie. Jesus Christ.
No,
just show how old I am.
But yeah, I think it would have got the back end of maybe
Attack of the Clones, yeah.
Yeah. And
Spider-Man, yeah.
It would have, because it was pretty much sandwiched in between like Matrix, I don't know, not 1 and 2, but maybe 2 and 3 would have been around that era as well. So a lot of people would have just been all caught up in that Matrix hype still.
Oh, let me just go. I'm just typed in 2002 movies. Let's see. Blue Crush, Jesus. Remember that?
Oh,
Female
yeah, I remember
surfer.
that.
Panic Room. High
I saw that at
Crime.
the cinema.
Reign of Fire. That was that dragon movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What else we got here? Go to the next page. Signs.
I love Signs.
We Were Soldiers. Gee, that was a real Mel Gibson era, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Collateral Damage. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was kind of the beginning of the downfall of Arnold's movie career, I think.
Man, 28 Days Later. John Q. What else we got? Blood Work. I've never seen that. Let's see what else.
That might be is that a Jack Nicholson movie?
Let me see.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood movie. 8 Mile came out that year.
Oh, geez.
Minority Report.
It's just a shark-infested waters releasing your movies back then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, imagine like some of these movies that didn't do so well then, if they had just kept them, like they just Batgirled them and just like put them in a vault somewhere and then release them now in 2022. That'd be like that'd be the $1 billion hits.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder about that with replacements. Like, if it did come out
at a different time,
a different week or a different month of the year, had it, it could have done something quite a lot better. Because I think Trey was saying before it came out the same day as Hollow Man. If you ever saw that one with Kevin Bacon.
You got Analyze That came out. It's so funny. So many of these people. Like that, this was another era for Eddie Murphy. You had, there was also Goldmember that came out, Austin Powers. You had Showtime with Eddie Murphy. There was also, what's that other Eddie Murphy movie that I just saw? Where was that?
Pluto Nash.
There, yeah. I Spy. That was the other one I saw.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. With Owen Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, Ice Age came out that year. Jesus.
Jeez.
Men in Black 2. Another one.
I mean, it's just the amount of quality that was coming out as well.
Yeah.
Because you name 30 movies probably there, or maybe 20 movies or so. 10 still hold up today, at least.
Did you ever see the movie Unfaithful?
Richard Gere and Diane Lane.
Yeah.
And
she ends up having
an affair. Seeing people were really going on about that, it's real like a sexy thriller movie, and I was watching and I'm going, this is kind of tame. Compared to something like Basic Instinct or Fatal Attraction and stuff.
Until he actually kills him. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He does. Catch Me If You Can came out that year as well.
I love that movie. That is
Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah.
That's probably one of my top. He's got a list, but would be my top 5 Spielberg movies.
Yeah, it's a fucking good movie, isn't it? I went and saw that in the theater.
Yeah, I probably would have around that era as well.
We Were Soldiers, Mel Gibson. I think I mentioned that before.
I mean, that whole era. I mean, people don't give it a lot of like especially as much as like the 80s or the 90s, but the 2000s had some, like the 2000 to 2010 had some absolute belters.
What was that movie with? It had Adam Sandler in it
Bulletproof?
and Bulletproof.
Yeah.
Man, Disneyland.
Yeah.
Disneyland. Like, I love that. Get that thing out of my ass.
That was the
And
first
he
time I'd
heads
ever
out the
seen.
window.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd
Fucking-
ever seen Adam Sandler in a movie. I'm pretty sure.
Fucking
'Cause,
Blade
like
2
that was
came out.
like that was before all these other ones. I think,
Yeah.
like all these other big comedy ones.
Yeah.
That was sort of when he did like it was more the supporting role, and Damon Wayans was kind of the lead in that.
Jeez,
But
it was
fucking hell, the first time I watched that movie, I laughed for fucking hours.
Me too. So very funny. Man, 2002 was a big year for fantasy. There was
Oh yeah, because
was
yeah,
Harry-
well, Lord of the Rings before that, and it just sort of kicked off a whole wave.
Well, there was Harry Potter 2. There was The Scorpion King, which wasn't really that great. But that was The Rock's first sort of appearance coming into movies. You had Attack of the Clones. You had Spider-Man. You had Blade 2. You had Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. What else is there? They did Pinocchio. There was Chicago. Reign of Fire, which I mentioned earlier. The Time Machine. What do you think of that movie?
That's the
one
Guy
with the
Pearce
Aussie-
one, isn't it?
The one with the Aussie, what's his name?
Yeah, Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
I love that movie, man.
I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember it being like a real like early special effects, but they did it pretty well.
They did it really well, I reckon. That was it really for that. And what do we got in thrillers? We've got Signs, Minority Report, The Sum of All Fear. That's
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, that's a Jack Ryan movie, I think.
Yeah. Another, I actually like that movie.
Yeah.
Where he
not
actually,
my favorite of the Jack Ryan movies, but
Yeah.
it's not bad.
The Ring. That was when horror was sort of starting to make a bit of a comeback.
Oh yeah, I mean that was like Signs as well. Like you could kind of put that in the thriller horror aspect, but
yeah,
that's the Ring. That's the American one, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
the one where she comes out through the TV.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the American remake of the Japanese one.
Yeah.
Believe
it or not, I didn't know this came out this year, but The Bourne Identity, the first one.
Oh yeah,
came out in
cool
2002.
One. That's a I don't know. That's one I think maybe that went one movie too many. Did you ever see that last Jason Bourne movie?
The one with Hawkeye in it?
No, not that one. I didn't mind that one. They made another one after that where Matt Damon came back.
Okay, I didn't see the one with him in it, and I didn't see the one after that.
No,
I stopped it because they did 5, right?
They did 3.
It was the original 3 with Ben Affleck, and then there was the one with Matt Damon, sorry, and then they did the one with Jeremy Renner,
yeah,
and then
Damon came back for another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did not like the last one because I really the first 3 are probably the best action movies of that time for me.
Yeah. The Transporter came out that year.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool one.
I actually just for that action thriller, I thought that was pretty good. Soul Assassin. I know he's not in the chat, but
I hated that about that movie, Trey.
What?
I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but the last Jason Bourne movie, they kind of fuck over one of the characters, and they do it in a way that's it's almost a rehash of what happened before in the series.
Right. That's pretty much it. We got romantic movies. What came out in 2002? Romantic movies? Anything? that I saw. Doesn't look like it. Third Wheel. Mr. Deeds. Really? That comes under romantic?
Which one?
Mr. Deeds. Adam Sandler. You know, when he's
I don't see that.
No, me either.
I didn't actually mind that one for a
yeah,
an Adam Sandler
I
comedy.
like The Butler. Very, very
Yeah.
sneaky, sir. He's a good actor too.
Yeah, John Turturro.
Yeah. Wow. They even put Attack of the Clones under romantic movies.
What?
I mean, it was under fantasy as well, but it comes under romantic. That's weird.
Well, for the Padme and Anakin scenes, or for the R2 and C-3PO scenes.
Yeah, maybe that. But yeah. Man, there's so many good movies.
It's just so much proof of like, I don't even, I mean, it is coming off a pandemic shutdown and everything, so the studios weren't making movies, but
it's no excuse.
Yeah, but how many you listed just then came out in that year compared to how many movies are coming out now? Like, it's the number doesn't even seem to match what was coming out before, let alone the quality movies, the number of quality movies that are coming out.
Oh, 1998 was the year of the like Deep Impact and Armageddon. Sorry, I wanted to see what 1998 had to offer, and that's your Comets and your there was also Basketball came out that year. What a great movie that is, huh?
That's another one I haven't seen in a long time, but I just I love the
Mercury Rising was another one.
I can't even remember his name.
Night at the Roxbury.
But they kept bullying. Remember the little dude in Basketball that they kept bullying?
Yeah, your mum's going out with Squeak.
Yeah, that's it.
Mercury Rising. I thought that wasn't too bad. And then there was Night at the Roxbury.
I've never seen that all the way through.
Oh, so funny.
I have friends in high school that fucking love, like, literally would watch that movie religiously. And it got to that point where they'd just talk about it all the time. And I'm just like, I'm not going to watch this movie out of spite for you people.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the movie Meet Joe Black? Brad Pitt?
Oh, God. No, I haven't. But one of the guys who I did a stream with, he was on the Chopper stream with Lethal and Lyndon and me. His name's Gemmo. He loves that movie, and he keeps trying to get me to do it on this channel so he can come on again and talk about Meet Joe Black. But it's such a weird movie. It
is a weird movie, but I actually really liked it. I think it was kind of weird because my sister, she's 2 years older than me, and she loved that movie. And like I got a lot of my culture from her and the things that she loved, so I kind of ended up just watching a lot of the things that she was watching.
Yeah, it's very much, I think, females from that era would definitely love that movie.
Yeah.
But that ending, where I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the ending with the car.
Yeah.
That's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in a fucking movie.
1998, you also had The Truman Show.
Oh, fuck. That's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But that was one of the ones where it kind of got ruined for me, The Truman Show.
Sphere was also 1998.
Oh, yeah, Sphere was cool. We studied, I don't know if you did as well, but we studied Truman Show in school, like for English class.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's one way to ruin a movie for people, just like making people watch the movie over and over again and then like dissect it like that.
Yeah.
But I came back, I grew to love it again.
Fuck, 1998, you had Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You had The Negotiator. I know Kevin Spacey is Kevin Spacey, but fuck, he was a great actor, and fuck, that's a great movie. Soldier.
Him and Sam Jackson in that.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Soldier with
Kurt Russell, yeah.
Kurt Russell?
That's
Like,
supposed
I
to be
thought
like a
that's such an underrated movie in my
yeah.
eyes. I reckon that's fucking brilliant.
It's loosely a Blade Runner spin-off.
I never saw it like that, but yeah.
Mm.
You had actually Blade 1 come out in 1998. You had Rush Hour come out in 1998. You had American History X come out in 1998.
I mean, look at all that diversity there you've got in the late 90s. Like Rush
Small
Hour,
Soldiers.
American History X.
Fuck, I love that movie.
That was
I love that movie so much.
that was one of those ones where when you're sort of like a young guy or like a sort of like a kid in that era.
I wanted those toys, man. I wanted those toys so bad.
And you wish that could actually, like, you wish that was happening. Like it's like a more grown up version of Toy Story, and you're like, this is fucking awesome.
Mighty Joe Young, Ants came out, A Bug's Life came out.
Yeah, that was that first wave of all those animated movies that were just like the 3D ones.
Pixar sort of started. Were they Pixar movies or no?
A Bug's Life was. Now. A Bug's Life was. Ants was DreamWorks, I think.
What do you think of U.S. Marshal, being that was like obviously the carryover from The Fugitive, like the sequel to The Fugitive? I like them both. I think The Fugitive
like the concept.
Is definitely...
Like we were kind of talking about before, like if you do a sequel to The Replacements, what would it be? Like you can't do a straight up sequel to The Fugitive, but if you wanted to do a sequel to The Fugitive and you bring back the Tommy Lee Jones character, it does work really well. Yeah. And I mean that was Wesley Snipes was great in that, but also Robert Downey Jr. was all really good in that as well.
Yeah, I agree. And a great cast again, having those two people come into that, essentially, if you want to call it a franchise. Not that it is, but yeah.
And that was when Downey Jr. was having, like, he was like sort of really on the ropes, having a lot of trouble, and he that was one of the ones that kind of helped him get back on track.
I honestly think that one of Robert Downey Jr.'s best movies is Hearts and Souls.
Yeah, I love that movie. That was one of those ones. As a kid, I would I taped it off the TV and I would just watch it all the time. Like if a homesick from school or something,
you just watch that.
Yeah, I'd put that tape on.
Yep. Enemy of the State. That's Will Smith and Gene Hackman.
Yeah, that's another one I really love because Gene Hackman, he's not in it for long, but when he does get into that movie, it's almost like a spiritual sequel to the movie The Conversation, and his character in both those movies is really good.
1998 was brilliant. You had Taxi. You had Lethal Weapon 4 as well.
I love Lethal Weapon 4.
So do I. What else we got? Universal Soldier. Ronin. Again, I mentioned The Negotiator, Armageddon. The Man in the Iron Mask. Man. Now, I will say, Leonardo DiCaprio had a problem early stages of his career, is that he was so pretty, right? He was a pretty boy, and all the girls loved him, which made all the guys hate him.
Yeah.
Right? But going back and watching something like The Man in the Iron Mask, like those movies, that movie specifically, I think is absolutely brilliant. Did you ever watch it, Man in the Iron Mask? Surely you did.
Oh, yeah, but not in a long, long time since it came out. But yeah, there was a lot from that era that were really cool. Another one I liked.
Saving Private Ryan was 1998.
Another one I liked, similar to Man in the Iron Mask, was the Three Musketeers movie they did at that time.
Yep.
That one I thought was pretty fun.
Star Trek, what is it? Insurrection was out that year. Blues Brothers 2000 was that year.
That was
6 Days,
sad,
7 Nights.
Sequel.
Yeah, it was. Lost in Space with Joey from Friends.
I remember seeing that in the movies. That was a
disappointment for me.
Yeah, it was not what I expected, and it was very, like, if you'd say there was a 90s movie, that's a very 90s movie.
Oh yeah, And so is the Godzilla with the
Oh yeah,
that,
definitely. Yeah, Godzilla '98 is a quintessential 90s
yeah.
movie.
Man, we should do some watch parties, let alone obviously you had X-Files 1998. I don't know if how is that a movie or is that it
Yeah,
says
that might have
movie,
been.
action movie.
Yeah,
Was
I
that
don't know.
after the series ended or
No. The series is still going.
still
That was
going?
I think that was either the first movie or the second. There was like Fight the Future and I Want to Believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a couple of X-Files movies early on.
The Wedding
They
Singer
weren't
came
great.
out that year. The Water Boy came out that year. Geez, he had a lot drop that year.
Yeah,
Adam
that
Sandler.
was like he's like Jim Carrey kind of had like I think it was 92 or 94.
Well, he had
Like
Ace
those sort of
Ventura,
like
The Mask. He dropped so many movies so
yeah, that
quickly.
era. And
Yeah.
Sandler like sort of like the mid-ish late 90s, he was
Yeah.
just every like year he had like 2 or 3
Two or
comedies.
three, yeah.
Yeah.
Rugrats, Jesus.
Yeah. They did a lot of those sort of TV cartoons into movies in that era.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? Oh, did you ever watch 54? Studio 54?
Yeah.
Mike
I think I
Myers.
watched it just for Mike Myers.
Yeah, so did I. It had that. I know his first
Ryan
name's
Philippe.
Ryan. Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Myers in that is I think
Shows
that's
his range. Shows his range a fair bit.
That was a fucking going from like Wayne's World to that.
You know, one of my favorite Mike Myers movies is So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I was going to say the same thing. Fucking oath.
He's going to cry himself to sleep tonight on his massive pillow.
Yeah. Kid, move.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
man.
going to get a complex
movies.
if you keep making fun of his giant head.
Yeah.
But one of the other bits in that is Phil Hartman on the when they go to Alcatraz, the prison, and Phil Hartman's the security guard there. Fucking hell, that's like that was one of the
brilliant.
Like Phil Hartman was such a icon when I was a kid. Like he was one of my favorite actors.
Patch
and
Adams.
he was just like sort of like in little small parts, but he just destroyed that movie.
Fear and Loathing was that year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that's way earlier.
So did I. I thought that was like 94, 92, but it's 98. There you go. Man, I could keep going for days on this. I mean, we've just done 2 years and we've just mentioned about fucking 50 movies.
Yeah, I know.
But again, like that just goes to show how fucked it is now. Like in regards to the entertainment value that and the movies and the script writing and the horrible editing and shit like that. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I know.
The artists just aren't there.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is the people just aren't getting hired. Like those people that have been working, they're some of them are getting into like 1 or 2 projects a year now, whereas they're giving people with no experience like 3, 4, or like giant budget shows like in Rings of Power and stuff to people who've got no experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
it's telling.
You look at the announcements and shit that they make. I mean, Rian Johnson got given a sequel trilogy to Star Wars before they even saw the reaction to his movie.
Yeah.
That would never have been done back in the 90s. That would never have been done even in the early 2000s. Shit like that, decisions like that would never have been made. And the criticism would never have been put on the audience. Like, yeah, okay, we talked about how much money the replacements didn't make, right? It probably lost money and stuff. Now, yeah, you would consider that to be a bit of a flop financially, but in regards to the structure of an actual movie and the art that you're actually seeing on the screen, it's still fantastic, despite the fact that it didn't make its money back or whatever. Like,
yeah, well, the movie lives on still, even though it was it wasn't a financial success or anything. Like, they're still making the DVDs. They'll probably still make the Blu-rays and whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's a movie that still carries on. I mean, large part because it's got Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman in it and stuff, and Keanu's still as popular as he ever was. But even on its own, like that movie, it still holds up.
But okay, let's say you were to take Keanu Reeves out and you were to take Gene Hackman out. I think okay, it would have been a bit of a different movie. But let's say you were to take them out, and the no names that you put in there, if they did just as good of a job, the editing is still great. The directing is still great. The dialogue and the script writing is fantastic. The score is fantastic. Like, you take even just like, again, I say you take out those elements like Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves, and it probably changes the movie a little bit. But as long as you've still got those structures in place, it's still a great story. It's still and ends up being sort of a great movie in that aspect. It's
yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No. Well, and you don't see a lot of the like, how often do you really see anymore someone like Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman acting across from each other on screen?
Yeah.
Like, you might get
That's rare as hell these days.
Like, you get like I'm trying to think of something recent. I don't know, like in She-Hulk, you get like Mark Ruffalo and Tatiana Maslany.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, she's not a bad actress, but it's like, there's a big level between Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman and Mark Ruffalo and Tatiana Maslany.
Fucking oath.
And you don't get it a lot.
But like, even think about something like Rush Hour, right? With Jackie Chan and that, like
Chris Tucker, yeah. I mean,
Chris Tucker, the chemistry
dynamic,
that those two have.
Yeah, that makes the movie. And if you were doing an updated version of that, I mean, they'd probably be getting people that
they'd get the Black Elf from the Lord of the Rings of Power, and
they get people with barely any experience, and they expect something
gold.
People that have, like Jackie Chan was probably at least 20 years in the business by that time.
Yep.
He did Rush Hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different ball game now. But
even movies like The Crow, for example.
Oh yes.
You just don't get movies like that anymore.
Well,
that just popped into my head, but
yeah, they've been trying to remake that movie basically since The Crow came out, and like, it's like the last 10 years, it's gone through probably 5 different directors and actors, but they'll never get it right or even close to what they did with that original.
And that's the thing. They just need to stop doing that. They actually need to try and now just start coming up with their own stuff. But that's where, like, they're just all creatively bankrupt at the moment. They can't. They can't. It's just remakes, remake.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's basically what it is, Trey. But yeah, like you were saying before, we can go on talking about this for ages. We're going to wrap it up soon. But I talked a little bit with Jeff, the Geek Blend and Rhetorical Thrill, about this, but we're going to try and see how we can set up a stream where we just talk about maybe movies from the 90s.
Just all different movies and things that we loved from those movies. I love conversations like this.
Yeah.
The reminiscing of older movies and stuff like that. I think I love it.
Yeah, it'd be good to get you on with that. I've been trying to organize it, but I can't do a lot of streams here in the daytime at the moment because there's a lot of construction going on around me. And it's pretty much 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. just drilling happening.
It's just finding a good time for everybody. The best thing to do in regards to that is make a group chat on Twitter, like a DM group chat on Twitter, and everybody that you want to have on, and then trying to coordinate the best time to get everybody at the same time. G'day, Tim F. G'day, Boss Hog.
How you going, Tim? Thanks for being here. And Boss Hog as well. I saw you before.
Old as fuck, Ryno. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to jump on for that, that'd be great as well.
For
you
sure.
Want to jump on and talk about some 90s movies.
For sure.
But yeah, that's why I kind of had to set this one up a little later as well, because I'd usually do it in the daytime, but it's actually not a bad time slot. And with the full Aussie being off, it's kind of an open slot, so it kind of works out. So
yeah,
it's been pretty cool. But
it's a good
yeah,
time to fit it in.
well, yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for coming on, Ryno. It was a lot of fun chatting the replacements.
Yep.
It's always fun watching Casual Rage as well, and the full Aussie.
Thank you.
I've got his link in the description. Anyone who isn't here and hasn't followed Ryno, I think everyone here has probably already followed Ryno, but if you haven't, sub to his channel. He's got a lot of good stuff. Casual Rage 100 coming up. I know for a fact Ryno has been working tirelessly behind the scenes planning this 100th episode. It's going to be one of the biggest episodes on YouTube ever.
It's not true, but okay, I'll take it. Man, I've run out of ideas for it, to be honest.
You just got to run.
Yeah, no,
you just got to run with this stuff, Ryno. When you get set up like that, you just got to run with it. But yeah, full
thanks,
Aussie
man.
back next week on Lethal's channel. Ryno Casual Rage 100 coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for that, Trey. And thanks for being here as well, Jock. I saw you before, but I didn't get a chance to say hello, but thanks for being here. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for being here, everyone. A lot of fun chatting, and lots more on the way. I'll be doing some updates, and I'll tell you what movies are coming up, and we'll have some fun.
For sure.
Cheers.
Later,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Mate.